Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Alright, well on that note, hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Geeky Gentlemen. Milan, as usual, may or may not pop on. We'll see what happens.
Hopefully he pops up,
Steve,
I'm curious to see what he thought.
Yeah, so Steve, speaking of the dark side, our mighty overlord YouTube has seen fit to grant me back my unlimited upload, and have reposted the Geeky Gentleman episode on Green Lantern the Animated Series because they realized that WB is a fucking lying piece of shit.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, so everyone, the Nostalgia Critic episode and the episode on... Fuck, what did we talk about?
Dawn of Atlantis?
No, not that.
Oh, what we talked about after that. The internet fame.
E-celebrities. The E-celebrities. The Nostalgia Critic and the E-celebrities episode will be reposted before this one, so if you missed those, you can go check them out in the playlist or on my channel. And even if you did go and see them, I'm going to ask you to go watch just like a few minutes of each of them again, just to help with the view boost. Because
if it
now
helps, I can just keep hitting refresh.
No, actually, YouTube is smarter than that, believe it or not.
Seriously?
Yeah, I think after a certain number of views, it stops counting yours because that's how it fights against view bots.
Okay. I didn't think they actually thought that far ahead.
Yeah, well, you'd be justified in your thinking, certainly logically, but unfortunately, they have planned for that.
They're one contingency.
Yeah. Anyway, no, I'm glad to be back. It's a bullshit system that the accused has to put up with the consequences, and that the accuser, who made a fraudulent claim, gets off completely scot-free. That's, a fucking problem.
Guilty until proven innocent is, I believe, how the quote is going for YouTube.
Yeah, and that's a problem. Like, I'm really offended by that they, don't get me wrong. I would like to be able to watch whatever the fuck I want by just looking it up on YouTube, watch full episodes of television shows and entire movies. That would be enjoyable.
Yes, it would.
But realistically, I can understand why copyright owners do not want that to happen, and so I support their right to pull videos where people are posting the entire length of things. I support their right to, make adjustments or insist that this isn't really a review or anything, and that it's just an excuse to post the content, because people were trying to get around it by, posting an entire song and just saying, this is a good song, that's my review of it down in the description. So, I understand that. That's fine. But when they're just looking for long format videos that have the title of things that they own in the title of the video, and then submitting claims on that, there's a fucking problem here. That's clearly being overlooked, and they've been given too much of the power in this situation.
Yeah, I agree, but there's not a lot we can do about it because we don't have money.
Yeah, indeed.
Or fancy law degrees.
Yep. Well, you're working on that, aren't you?
Yeah, but I've still got, 5 years. 3 years law school, 2 years left of here. So, yeah, 5 years.
I've got, 2 months.
Bastard.
I'm so excited to be done. Anyway, Steve, what are we talking about this week?
Alright, so today we're talking about the continued continuity of DC's Michael Bay universe. We are talking about the most recent animated film from Michael Bay, Justice League Throne of Atlantis. And I know Michael Bay's not involved, but he might as well be at this point, because it's so fucking bad.
Oh, God. Alright, let me say this much. I did not like this movie. I think
terrible.
I enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it slightly more than you did.
That's true. Probably.
But I will agree that it's a really bad movie.
Oh my god, it's so bad. There's not even, we don't even have like a fade in or a build up. No, it's terrible. End of review.
Yeah, I guess. So everyone, thank you for watching. No, anyway, oh god. No, I do have to agree. This one is really bad just from the get-go for me, because like it starts out with those fuckers on the submarine
With
and
the
just
terrible
immediately
dialogue.
Yeah, awful dialogue.
The dialogue is literally, hey, let me just spell out everything you already know for a couple of lines before something else happens, and we spell out exactly what's happening again in dialogue.
Exactly. And there's a lot of that. Oh my god, like Orm is terrible about it.
Orm is, does he have to like explain his motives and actions before he does them every single time?
Yep. And there's just a lot of contrivances in this movie. This movie gets really bad really quickly. That being said, besides the action, I did find some things enjoyable about this movie.
Okay, well, we'll have to talk about those, because the only thing I liked about this movie... I didn't even like the action scenes. I thought the action scenes were really stilted. And we'll talk about the animation problems, but the only thing I think I liked about it is the final shot when Aquaman's about to attack the trench with a whole bunch of whales behind him.
That was cool.
And that's not even because the movie earns it. It's just because Aquaman attacking things with whales is awesome, in principle.
Okay. I don't know, like, there were some lines here and there that I thought were fun or cool. Like, in that scene, he goes, I've got King of the Sea stuff to do. That was funny.
That's also the complete depth of what these writers understand to be Aquaman. He's got King of the Sea stuff to do.
Fair enough.
That's the exact amount of character growth and depth you're getting with this movie.
True. There were some other things that I did like, though. I just don't want to be too negative throughout the entire review, so I'm going to start out with the positive.
Okay. Right
I really love Batman and Green Lantern together. Johns does know how to write that, and since this is based on John's script, it does really come through in that way.
I wish Batman had been a voice actor, and I wish the animation would make it so that there isn't like a 3-second pause in between every line exchange.
I agree, but just, God, some of the stuff, like that whole scene with the Scarecrow guys, and Green Lantern creating the construct, and being like, hey, I caught him for you. He goes, where's the Crane's fear toxin coming from? Blah, 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 blah. But I caught the guy.
The only reason I don't like that is because it makes the Justice League look like it's filled with assholes. Like, Batman is such a dick, he can't even bother to explain what the fuck he's doing, and Green Lantern's such an idiot that he can't even bother to wait and ask a question.
Well, no, I think that's, like, part of their characters, though.
But that's the problem. Like, every member of the Justice League in this movie is either an idiot or an asshole.
No, I'll agree with you, but I'm just talking fundamentally. I think that scene would work no matter who was writing Batman and Green Lantern if they got the characters, because Hal's the guy that runs in without a plan just because it's like, well, shit, I'll figure something out along the way, and Batman's the one that's like too busy doing his stuff to like bother sharing with anybody. So I just think it's always so much fun to watch those two together.
I enjoyed watching those two together in Pre-52 when they didn't like each other and they were polar opposites, but at least they communicated and they were mutually respectable. Mm-hmm. In this, they hate each other and they're antagonistic because angsty superheroes sell.
Fair enough. I just liked the scene. I thought it was entertaining.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't know. there's just so much wrong with this movie, I don't even know where to start, you know? Like, everything from the plot being the most generic Atlantis story ever to the minuscule things that the comic does that are decent aren't in this movie. The voice acting is terrible. The dialogue is terrible. There's just, I don't know where to begin.
Can we begin with, like, my biggest, like, head-scratching moment?
Sure.
So, like, Batman's getting freaked out that this tidal wave is going to come and apparently, like, drown all of Metropolis, and there's nothing they can do about it. People are going to die. And then the tidal wave gets right to the edge of the shore of Metropolis. You can even see that the docks are dried out because, you know, the current has come in and everything. And then it just sits there and Orm, like, you know, becomes Moses and then marches into the city. And I'm like, the fuck? Why didn't you start with the tidal wave and then march into the city? I'm very confused by this.
That's just like a weird Atlantean thing to do. Like, every time we've got Atlantis, whether it's in Marvel or DC, they just seem to have the ability to stop water in its tracks.
Well, no, I mean, the stopping water part isn't what bugs me. I mean, he's clearly under control of the tidal wave. Okay, cool. Or the tsunami, there we go. He's clearly under control of the tsunami. But he doesn't use it, and I don't know why. Like, it's this big, huge, like, legitimately, you know, like, I read bits of the comic, and the, you know, gigantic tsunami moving into a hugely populated city was one of the better parts of the comic book, and so I was really interested to see how they handled that in animation, and they just don't do it. I'm like, why not? You set it up, it's literally right there, no one does anything to stop it, and it just, they don't use it, and I don't know why.
Yeah, that's a good question. They're willing to go so far as to have Orm stab his mother in the back underwater and have him say bastard repeatedly, but tsunami killing people in the city, no, that's too far.
I guess, and on the note of him stabbing his mother in her back, so, like, maybe, you know, to be fair, I am not a queen of an underwater city.
Really?
No, surprise, Steve. I've been lying to you this whole time.
You fucking
anyway,
where
yeah,
is my crown? You promised me a crown.
Yeah, I did, and those were empty promises full of lies. No, so, like, if it were me, though, I maybe, if I knew that my son was planning to, you know, incite a war and had committed genocide and was planning to try and overthrow me, maybe, just maybe, I wouldn't turn my back on him.
Or maybe have him arrested the moment you figured it out instead of waiting for him to show up?
Oh, there's that. It's just like, that on its own, sure, but just the fact that she turns her back on him, and it's not like she turns her back on him and, you know, she knows, but she does, it's not like she turned her back on him when she knew, but he didn't know that she knows. She straight up just told him, I know you killed Atlanteans, and I'm gonna, you know, bring the hurt on your ass for that. And then she's like, but I'm the Queen of Atlantis. Apparently I just don't need to worry about anything.
Yeah. And, I mean, this movie is filled with little things like that, like, why didn't you just do this, or why are you dumb enough to not do this? And you could essentially just do a commentary track for every couple of seconds of, you could have solved the problem 10 times easier.
There's that. Like, honestly, this movie to me feels kind of like a really bad episode of Justice League. And what I mean by that,
well, it kind of is. This is the Aquaman episode of Justice League, just terrible.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, you know, Justice League, when it was at its best, it was like this really interesting and intelligent show that dealt with, you know, the whole DC Universe thing and dealing with all the implications of having a world full of superheroes and blah, blah, blah. And then at its worst, it was like kind of a silly kid show. Like, the fucking Christmas episode is awful.
I like that episode.
What?
I like that episode. It's campy, sure, but I didn't think it was that bad.
I don't like it at all.
Okay, fair enough.
Like, but I'm sure you can name an episode that's like clearly just, or the episode where they get turned into children, for that matter.
Yes,
or
that
the
one's
episode,
terrible. Yeah.
or the episode where Wonder Woman gets turned into a pig.
Yes. Justice League Unlimited had a lot of that.
Yeah. So there you go. Really bad episodes that are very like kid focused kind of stuff. And this is like that, where I could enjoy it if it had been, you know, one of those episodes of Justice League.
See,
but
I don't know about that, because the thing with Justice League is, even when the episode stories were terrible, it were still fun to watch on the level of these characters are enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about anyone in this movie. I don't understand why I'm supposed to like Arthur. His character...
Because his dad died, Steve. God, no heart, man.
Yeah, his dad dies, and so clearly these guys must have had a terrible relationship, because his dad died, and all he can do about it is mope and pick bar fights and get ridiculously hammered. So apparently he either had a terrible father or he was just a terrible son, so I automatically don't care there. The only thing he does in this entire movie that's even remotely redeeming is beat the crap out of his evil brother, and he only does that because he's looking for something to hit.
Yeah, and also another little weird plot holy thing. We clearly see Arthur get the shit kicked out of him by a bunch of just, you know, nobodies in a bar.
Yes.
How the hell does he take on the, you know, fucking Orm and briefly the fucking piranha people?
I'm willing to suspend disbelief enough to say, well, maybe he's stronger in the water. But yeah, that's a good point. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Also, can I point out a really strange scene? I'm not sure if you had this, but do you remember when Mira, and by the way, Mira is terrible. She only exists because she looks pretty, and their relationship is founded on fucking nothing.
Yeah.
But do you remember that scene where Mira shows him the King of Atlantis' armor?
Yeah.
Okay, now explain this to me, because I don't understand it. So he gets shown the armor, and she's trying to convince him that he has to take up the mantle of being king. So the scene is essentially, I don't want to be king, look, shiny armor, let me put on all of the armor. No, wait, second thought, I don't want to be king, let me take off half of the armor.
Yeah, I thought that
costume.
was really strange.
I don't understand that scene. What's the motivation there? Why did you put it on in the first place?
Like, you know what would have made that scene work better? And it might have been too Disney-ish, but it probably would have worked. Is if when he walked in there, all the a bunch of like little sea creatures started putting on the armor for him as he was talking to Mira. That would have made that work.
Yeah, maybe.
As it was like, okay, I'm going to go through the trouble of putting all of this on, then take it all off.
Take off half of it. No, not all of it, just half of it. Because we need him to look like he's on the cover.
Just the cool parts, so this way I can be wearing the orange, because it's not like I was wearing orange at any other point in this movie. They really shoehorned in that damn orange vest in those scenes with him.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not a fan of Jeff Johns' Aquaman run. I think it's actually pretty bad, but I think this is worse because it takes all of those interesting character bits that were in the run and just completely destroys them. Like Arthur in the comics, at least in the Jeff Johns ones, the other stuff's completely different, but at least in the Jeff Johns stuff, he's conflicted about being King of Atlantis, not because he's an angsty, my dad just died kind of guy. It's because he was left alone and had everything around him destroyed so abruptly. Like the doctor, the Asian dude, Dr. Shen, was his best friend that helped him understand his powers, and he let out the secret that Aquaman's from Atlantis, and his dad died the same week, and so his life just kind of fell apart. That's understandable. Yeah. That's fine. That works. That's not this. This is just, I was a really sweet kid, now my dad's dead, so everything sucks, and I just want to beat stuff up. Like, I don't even understand why his dad and his relationship even matters, because he's clearly nothing like his father.
I don't know enough about his father to make that determination, Steve.
Well, in the one scene we got with his dad, in the exposition we got from Mira and his mom about like what their dad was like, I don't understand what Arthur was doing that whole time. What did he even learn?
I don't know,
What is his
Steve.
arc in this movie?
Nothing.
Tell me that.
Oh, no, there is none. He goes from being sad and drunk to King of Atlantis. This is like the really awful version with a lot of Michael Bay-ness of The Little Mermaid.
Yeah, I guess so. And that movie had its problems, but dear God, this movie.
Yeah. This is like The Little Mermaid, but with testosterone and...
I've been curious to ask you this. What did you think about the Superman Wonder Woman stuff? Because I thought in the comics their relationship isn't necessarily great, but I can believe it. And here I just have no idea what the fuck's going on.
To be fair, the only version of Justice League War I have seen is the abridged version where, Superman is a creationist and afraid of communism. So keeping that in mind...
That's essentially the movie, though.
Yeah. Keeping that in mind, I'm going to assume that they do not set it up at all in Justice League War.
Okay, well, I'll give you the context. They set up in Justice League War to the extent that Wonder Woman thinks Superman is hot.
Okay. Otherwise, this comes out of fucking nowhere.
I don't understand it. I don't get it.
I like the date thing with Clark, Lois, and Diana. That was cute. And it's kind of funny when Cyborg and, who was it, Flash or whatever, Cyborg and Shazam boom right in front of the restaurant. Like, are they on a date? That was pretty good.
That was in the comic as well.
Okay. There are moments in this where, I go, okay, whatever, that's funny, or that's cute. But otherwise, yeah, no, I don't love Superman and Wonder Woman. I'm not one of those people that say, oh, Superman and Wonder Woman should be together forever or anything like that. But I always thought that, it would make sense for them to want to try it out.
Yeah.
Just because of who they are and how they relate to the rest of the world as, essentially gods.
Right.
So it would make sense for them to at least attempt to date, but something to not work there. So that's my reason for liking the idea of them going out. This, however, doesn't hit on any of that. And it's just oh yeah, well, this happened in the comics, and we don't have time for it, but we're going to shoehorn it in anyway. Because we need to give Superman and Wonder Woman something to do in this situation, as opposed to just being there as the big guns.
Yeah, that's essentially what this is. And I know, because I've talked to Cap about the comics, and he said the Superman Wonder Woman comic is good in the sense that it capitalizes on why they're different and why this wouldn't work in the long term, but it's in some ways fun in the short term for them, and that's fine. But yeah, this movie doesn't do any of that. This movie is essentially they're dating because Wonder Woman thought he was hot in the first movie, and they do little things here and there to kind of blend their interests, but they have no chemistry together, and they have no reason to be with each other.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand what she sees in him any more than I understand what the fuck Mira sees in Arthur.
Well, Mira is trying to cozy up so she can be Queen of Atlantis, Steve.
Is that what that is? So is she cozying up so she can have super babies? When you play the Game of Thrones,
you win or you die.
And to be fair, Mira in the comics has the exact same problem. If you read the Jeff Johns run, I don't understand what the fuck she sees in Arthur there either.
Well, in the Jeff Johns run, isn't she an assassin originally?
Yeah, she is. Her original backstory is she's part of a colony that was exiled from Atlantis centuries beforehand by the original king, and she was groomed to kill Arthur and help them take over the kingdom. But they never show this, but apparently they fell in love instead. And...
Oh. I just remembered something.
Okay.
So I watched this at the fucking most perfect time, because right now I'm taking a history of the ancient world class.
Oh, cool.
Ancient Western civilization, let me say. And right now we're on Mesopotamia, and we're talking about the period between 1200 and 1000 BCE. And the professor goes, and we don't know much about this era, except that there were a lot of invasions by people that we don't really know anything about. And all the writings we have of them just basically refer to them as the sea people. And I just go, Atlantis attacked.
Atlantis attacked, that really crappy Marvel event. That's exactly what it is.
This is exactly what happened, man. Atlantis attacked ancient Mesopotamia in the 1200s. Oh my god, it's so exactly what happened.
Oh, that's great.
I just thought that was the funniest fucking thing ever. I'm like, oh my god, I just totally want to write an Aquaman movie now and reference this little historical, nugget of information that there was an invasion by the sea people and just make that like the big revelation that it was fucking Atlantis.
Well, Peter David does that. Peter David's run on Aquaman is the best because it does stuff like that, and it plays on the fact that Aquaman is a mythology, and he acts almost as if Aquaman is one of the Greek pantheon, which is really cool. Because he technically would be if he's related to Poseidon.
Yeah.
But yeah, all that stuff's really cool in Peter David's run. The thing Peter David does that no one else who writes Aquaman does is he never has a war with the surface world out of a misunderstanding. Because that's every single Aquaman story.
Yeah.
Like, name one that you've ever seen of Aquaman where there's not a surface war because someone had a misunderstanding.
Does the Justice League one count?
Yes, because that one is essentially Ocean Master sets up a war with the surface world because of a misunderstanding.
No, well, it's not a misunderstanding because the guards straight up see Arthur and kick his ass anyway.
No, I mean, that movie was Orm takes a nuclear sub, and he's using it to incite a war with the surface world.
Wait, are we talking about this movie, or are we talking about the Justice League episode that I'm thinking of?
Justice League episode, and this movie, but also the Justice League episode.
See, I wouldn't call that a misunderstanding, though, because Orm straight up, has the guards try to kill
Well, it's
Arthur,
a misunderstanding because they think Arthur is the one who did it. And they want to send him to prison for it, or they want him to stand trial for it. But he refuses because he's impatient and he wants to kick his brother's ass.
I guess I'd have to rewatch that, because I didn't think of that as a misunderstanding. Atlantis clearly knew what it was doing.
Well, at the very least, it's a war between the surface and Atlantean world because some guy wants to be an imperialist conqueror.
Yeah, fair enough.
Which is essentially every Aquaman story again.
Yeah. True. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we've almost kind of hit a wall because of how bad this movie is. There's just so much terrible to talk about, but I don't know where else to go from here.
Oh, well, there are plenty of places to go, Steve. For example...
Okay, go ahead.
How the fuck is Batman and Flash underwater, hundreds of miles underwater?
I have no idea. I was going to ask.
And not being, crushed horribly.
I have no idea. I can only assume that their suits have some kind of pressure stabilizer. But we're never told that, and it doesn't make any sense.
And then there's, the scene where they all are in Atlantis, and none of them have fucking breathers on.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that was, Green Lantern, sure, whatever, that makes sense.
Yeah, he's got the power ring. Superman, maybe.
No, because he talks.
Oh, he does talk. Yeah, okay. At least in the comic, when they do that, they're in cocoons that protect them from the pressure and the air loss.
I have no idea. It's so weird. There's so many little things about this movie where it's just not thought through at all, and it just pisses me off because it doesn't make any fucking sense. And just every line of dialogue gets worse and worse, and just go, oh my god, moan of pain and anguish while I'm watching this movie.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't sympathize with any of the characters. None of them have any sort of arc. I don't even know what Orm's even trying to accomplish. Okay, he wants to destroy the surface world. Why?
Because his daddy wanted to do it.
Why?
Which begs the question, if his dad wanted to do it, why didn't his dad do it?
Yeah, exactly. Why didn't he?
Like, I seriously never got that. I'm like, okay, so...
And if his dad did it, he would have been able to because there were no superheroes back then.
Yeah, like, and, like, apparently the whole war is, like, Orm's trying to start the whole war because of the Darkseid attack. And I'm like... And they have that line between Orm and his mom where she's like, that was a attack from on the surfacers. They were not responsible for it. And he goes, a surface war caused the death of my father, and you give excuses for them or some shit like that. I'm like, well, dude, they didn't start the war. It's not just a surface war. It's fucking space. You were under threat too.
Yeah, and I mean, they're trying to get these to connect and be some sort of fancy universe, but with little things like that, if you just backtrack, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Like, what was Aquaman doing during the invasion in Justice League War? What the fuck was Atlantis doing when the waters were being drilled into?
There's that question, like, from what I remember in the comic, at one point, didn't Aquaman show up in the comic?
Aquaman is in the comic. In the movie, they just replaced him with Shazam.
That's so fucking weird.
Yeah, Aquaman shows up in the comic, and he gets, like, an army of sharks to devour everything.
I'm so confused. Steve,
yes,
make this movie make sense to me.
I can't. I can trim it down so it's only, like, 15 minutes long. And even that's a bit too long. I don't know, I feel like the best scene in this movie was the credits, because thank God it was over.
Oh my God, ouch. Oof.
I'm not sure if it's worse than Justice League War, though.
See, I haven't seen Justice League War. I've heard nothing good about it. Like, I'm one of those people that, like, didn't hate the first arc of the Justice League book. I didn't think it was, like, great or anything. I just thought it was kind of meh. You know, it's a Justice League story with Darkseid. Whatever.
Well, you must hate it knowing that IGN gave it an 8.8.
Well, that's pretty ridiculous. It's got a pretty strong first issue, I'll give it that much.
See, I don't even agree with that. But even so, even if you like the comic, you would have to agree that it's nothing but 5 issues of an action sequence.
I wouldn't say that. I'd say it's just a standard Justice League story that no one will remember. Like, I guess I have kind of a similar opinion on it that I do to Death in the Family.
Okay.
Death in the Family is a story that we remember for one reason, and that's because Jason Todd died in it. If, like, the fans had voted the other way and Jason Todd didn't die, and, you know, assuming that the whole fan voting thing was forgotten to time, no one would ever go read those issues of Batman or Detective Comics again. And I feel very much the same way about the first arc of the new Justice League book. If not for the fact that it is the first arc of the new Justice League book and the new 52, blah, 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 no one would fucking go read that story 10 years from now and think about it in any kind of way.
Well, I mean, regardless of its longevity, it's still a terrible story that's nothing but one long action sequence. Like, even if you like it, it's one long action sequence. There is no break. It is one giant action scene.
Maybe, but I don't think I don't think it's bad. I just think it's mediocre.
Okay, even so, you can't argue that it's one long action scene. That's by fact what it is.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's necessarily a problem because
I'm not saying it's a problem, but it is one long action scene. That's the story. The story is that it's one 5-issue fight.
Kinda, yeah.
No, I mean no, seriously. Like, it's like, is the book called Justice League? Yes. Is it one 5-issue fight scene? Yes. Like, there's no break. Pick up those.
Okay.
Right now, go up and pick up those issues. It's one fight for 5 issues.
Okay, can I say something?
Sure.
I agree, but I think that's the point, and so I don't see it as a problem.
Okay, I mean, I'm not saying it's a problem. I just mean, like, factually, that's what it is.
Okay, well, no, the way you're saying it makes it sound like it's some kind of horrible thing to have done. I'm like, that's what they're trying to do, though. It's supposed to be this, like, high-tension thing, like, oh, there's no time to stop and breathe.
Okay, well, regardless of what they're trying to do, that's what it is.
Yeah, I agree.
And Justice League War is that, too. It's literally just a 75-minute fight scene. The difference between how bad that movie is and how bad Throne of Atlantis is at least Throne of Atlantis pauses, and there's a progression.
Yeah.
In Justice League War, if you sit down and watch that movie, it's nothing but someone attacks, and people show up out of the woodwork and act like assholes, and the movie is over after everyone's dead. At least in Throne of Atlantis, there's like, okay, let's figure out what's going on.
Yeah, and I mean, they do some fun stuff with, like, little... I have, like, a certain love, I guess, for superhero PR, or just... No, that's not the right word for it. I have a certain love for just superhero, tedious details about superhero life. There we go.
Okay.
That's a good way to put it. Like, I just really enjoy when stuff does that. So, like, when Steve Trevor's on the phone toward the beginning, and he's like, no, Justice League tested better, and he gets to the Hall of Justice, and it's got, like, you know, Magnificent 7 or whatever
Super
the fuck
7,
it was
yeah.
called. Yeah, Super 7. And he's like, crap. Like, that was funny to me. Like, I like stuff like that, and this movie has a little bit of that here and there.
Yeah, that's alright, I guess. But the bar is already so low, I feel like it could have had Batmite, and I would have enjoyed that.
Well, I enjoy Batmite.
I do too. I just mean, like, you could do a 60s Batmite story that doesn't even matter in the middle of this movie, and I'd still kind of enjoy it more than what we got.
God.
Just interrupt the framework for that, and I'll be okay.
Batman's about to, like, punch an Atlantean in the face, and all of a sudden, like, time stops, and Batmite's just there, and it's like, I'm your biggest fan!
Which, by the way, if Batman tried to punch an Atlantean in the face, his hand would break.
I don't care.
I'm just saying, like, I am a really big Batman fan, but people have to understand that the guy is not superhuman.
Yeah, that, like, what's that scene from the Batman-Superman, movie that, like, everyone bitches about where
where Batman flips him?
Yeah, I mean, like, no, that's perfectly fine, because that flip is made to do with someone that weighs more than you.
Yeah, someone that's stronger than you. It's literally just Batman making Superman move himself.
Yeah, so that's fine. But yeah, I do agree, when Batman, like, punches, you know, Darkseid in the face or whatever, I'm like, that's really stupid.
Yeah.
He would not do that, because he doesn't want to break his hand.
Or burn it to a cinder, considering Darkseid's face.
Wait, is Darkseid, like, radiate heat?
He's got, like, a molten, like, magma coming out of his face, doesn't he?
Sometimes, I guess.
I guess it depends on what version we're talking about, because the Jack Kirby version doesn't have that, but then, like, the later 2000s one does.
I don't know. Rockface monster.
Yeah.
That wants Infinity Gem. Wait, no.
Well, that one isn't rock-faced. That one is just reptile-skinned.
Oh, yeah, and it doesn't look rock-faced at all, does it?
I didn't say it didn't look rock-faced, but it's not technically rock-faced.
Oh, okay. You win. On a technicality. Don't you feel good about yourself?
I do.
You're technically right, Mr. Baxi. The best kind of right.
So they try to shoehorn in this movie, and this is from the comics as well, they try to shoehorn character stuff with Cyborg, and it falls so flat.
Like, I remember in the movie, or in the comic rather, they do the, like, whole dramatic sacrifice of his one human lung.
Yeah.
And here they have him give it up, which is even stranger. And speaking of Cyborg, one thing I really did not like, because it goes to your point about the League members looking like complete assholes, one thing I really didn't like was Batman just treated Cyborg like a computer, and that pissed me off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so did
Cyborg
Shazam.
What?
So did Shazam. Or so did
No,
Shazam.
because Shazam still talks to him like it's a person, like, oh, you know, you should ask her out, blah, blah, blah. Batman just honestly talked to Cyborg the way Batman talks to his computer most of the time.
Yeah, that's true.
And the reason that bothers me is because that's not how Batman talks to, like, you know, his technical assistant, if you will. He talks to Oracle like she's still a person, you know, he makes jokes with her and stuff. Cyborg, he straight up treats like a computer, and that could be okay, if Cyborg acknowledges that, or if Batman acknowledges that, and they, you know, have a moment about it or something. But they don't. Cyborg has no personality in this movie whatsoever.
But, yeah, and that's kind of the problem with all the characters, though, right? Like, Batman only comes off more of a jerk when he talks to Cyborg like a computer, because he's talking to Cyborg. No one else even talks to each other outside of plot developments. Superman and Batman go look for evidence in one scene, and it's just constant plot development. There's no chemistry between those guys. There's no conversation. When you get stuff like who made Batman the leader and Hal Jordan constantly making jokes, the lines may be fine, the delivery may be fine, but none of the characters have any sort of chemistry with each other. When they say maybe we should have meetings like weekly, I don't care because I don't understand why these people would even want to spend a couple minutes with each other, even if it's to save the world.
Mm-hmm.
They don't operate like a team in the least bit.
Yeah, I agree entirely. They are a bunch of assholes hanging out with each other in this version of Justice League, and I don't like it. I'm kind of glad I haven't seen Justice League War yet.
Yeah, and I mean, Superman is the most assholey of the whole group in both movies, because it seems like the entire movie here, all Superman wants to do is like, let's finish this so I can go fuck Wonder Woman. That's his attitude for the whole movie. He's constantly staring at her. Everything he does is just in reference to her, and what he likes about her, I still don't know.
Yeah, because she has no personality.
No, she doesn't. They have that one cute moment that you mentioned earlier, but even that, I don't understand why she likes him or why he likes her. And if we go before this to Justice League War, Superman's whole reason for existing is saying, hey, let me beat stuff up and see what it does.
I don't know, man. I just don't know anymore.
Oh, yeah. It's I feel like at this point, all you can do is like ask people to watch the movie and say, look at how bad this is.
Yeah, and there's just like, we keep putting out like all the little like things that just make no sense. Like when the Piranha people who...
Yeah, the trench.
The trench people or whatever the fuck they were, just come up out of nowhere after Arthur takes off half of the armor, rather. Like they just come out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
And on that island, and like Flash just finds them, like, so they just sent Flash to run around the entire world to find one guy. That's a little weird. You think they'd have another way to go about that for a minute or two? Because it seems like that would take even the Flash would take a long time. Because I mean, there are buildings with stairs, and people like lock their doors. Because you think about that, like, did the Flash just start running on the oceans, or like, did he break into thousands of people's apartments and office buildings just to go, nope, the guy is not in here?
Well, that's always kind of a problem with speedster-like characters, because they're always able to do things at unreasonable speeds and go in and out of places that you know they'd have to break into. Like, there's jokes in the Flash TV show where he runs back and forth and gets food really quickly, and you have to assume that he just stole it, because there's no way he could get it and pay for it in the time he comes back.
Yeah, unless he just leaves the money, I guess.
Maybe. But yeah, I mean, I'm okay with that. I'm just not okay with... We're forced to pay attention to that because there's nothing else going on. There's no meat to the story.
Yeah, that's the thing, is a lot of these, like, little, like, they're not little, but a lot of these stupid things left and right, you could easily ignore if the story itself was better.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even have to be in the most coherent plot. If it was just a good character study of Aquaman, I'd be happy.
Yeah, like, honestly, if this movie had worked better just with the overall story, with, like, the Orm-Aquaman dynamic, or the Aquaman joining the League dynamic, if any of that had just worked better than it does, I would be able to forgive all these, like, little plot contrivances and stuff, because I'm like, okay, it's a 70-minute runtime, what do you expect, blah, blah, blah. If they want to fit it in and it's necessary to the plot or whatever, then they got to kind of contrive some things.
Right.
And, that's not the best argument in something's favor, but it's fair enough. It's something that you can look past. But when there's nothing going on the overarching level that's worth any of your time, and even all the little stuff doesn't add up, and they're shoehorning everything in, and then on top of all that, the characters suck.
Yeah.
And on top of all that, the voice acting sucks.
The voice actors are so bad. I love Nathan Fillion, but the way they edit his lines together, it always falls flat.
A little bit. I don't mind his Green Lantern as much.
No, I mean, I like him as Green Lantern. It's just the animation thing we talked about before, where someone says something and then we don't get a counter until 3 seconds later. And it just kind of kills whatever anyone's saying.
See, actually, let me say this much. I don't think I had that problem in it. I think I have a very unique set of circumstances as to why. So, I found this movie after you announced it. I immediately went to YouTube last week and looked it up, and I found it, and I downloaded it right away from YouTube because I knew it would be taken down by the time I got the chance to watch it.
Right.
And so I watched it on the TV last night and everything, and I couldn't help but feel like parts of it felt like it was on fast forward. And let me ask you this. In the beginning of the movie and stuff, did they, put little, text on screen that told you, where they were?
Yeah.
On occasion? Okay. I could hear the sound effect they used for that, but I never saw the text. So I think the person that posted it slightly sped up the movie, slightly fast-forwarded the movie, not to the point where you couldn't hear the dialogue or anything, but slightly fast-forwarded the movie, and, blew up the frame just a little bit to get around the YouTube copyright thing.
Right.
So I think that, those little two things actually made the movie slightly better.
Okay, well, that's understandable.
Because, I didn't have that delay thing you're talking about, because I didn't notice that at all. But I did notice the people kind of talk just a little fast on occasion, and I thought that was weird.
Okay, yeah, so I think if you watch it on the normal speed, you'll know what I mean, because it feels like it's lagging in the regular version.
Okay. Also, Green Lantern's construct was the fucking Mega Maid from Spaceballs towards the end.
That was hilarious.
It was, but it was not in a good way.
No, it doesn't make any sense, but it's hilarious to just see him walking around like that.
With a vacuum cleaner. Yeah, that was really bad.
I also want to talk about the character designs, because we've had the same aesthetic since Flashpoint, I think. And it's trying really hard to just get the basic Jim Lee outline without any of the line details, because they can't animate it that easily.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that is the characters either look bloated or 10 times older or ridiculously tall.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't look right. Like Superman looks like a 90s Liefeld drawing of Superman.
Uh-huh.
Wonder Woman looks okay, but she's also almost 8 feet tall, and Batman's got the exact same thing where he looks 8 feet tall.
Yeah.
And Cyborg's supposed to be a teenager, but he looks like he's 30.
Yeah.
So I'm not crazy about those designs. I'm not sure whose idea it was to make everyone look disproportioned.
Yeah, there's that, and I like the glowy things on Green Lantern's costume, even though most people don't.
Well, I think that just looks cool because Green Lantern's got an aura around him anyway. So if you've got crevices for that to come out of, it looks cool.
Yeah, one of my favorite things that they do in the comics occasionally, I think it's Ivan Reis that invented the style, is when they have the badge or the symbol project from the chest as a construct. I always think that's so cool. And I'm waiting for the day when someone does that in animation.
I think they do that in the animated series.
Nope.
Do they not?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Animated series does a lot of other cool stuff, though, but no, they never do it in animated series.
Okay. Well, other than that show was great, though.
Yeah, I mean, obviously. I'm just waiting to see it done in animation. It actually would be easier to do in 3D than in 2D.
Yeah, I would figure Green Lantern just works better in that.
Yeah. But anyway, like, Green Lantern's the only costume design that I do enjoy in this. Flash kind of just looks like Flash. I like that they gave Wonder Woman a sword. I don't know where the hell her lasso is, because she just has it in one scene. And that's it.
She keeps holding it in her hand, and that seems really inconvenient.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't mind the idea of Wonder Woman having, like, invisible satchel or something like that, because, she's one of the few characters where that would make sense, because, you could easily build a whole story all, like, Clash of the Titans style with her getting items from the gods, and that would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
But I did like that they gave her a sword, and like I like Wonder Woman with a sword. That's always something really enjoyable to me. Excuse me, I'm going to mute my mic real quick.
Okay. Yeah, no, I like that. I like Wonder Woman's fight scenes, okay. I think they do a pretty good job of at least making her look capable, unlike the other Justice League members, where there's just kind of scrambling around and mad grabs and you can't even correctly tell what's supposed to be happening. Almost like a Transformers movie.
Yeah, I like the little showdown she has with Orm.
Yeah, I thought that was nice. I know in the comic, Orm's able to beat Superman, Wonder Woman, and Green Lantern, and I don't understand how that's even remotely possible.
Well, because magic, which does make sense.
Well, magic wouldn't be able to beat Wonder Woman, because she's already magic, bless you.
Yeah, that's why I kept muting my mic. Magic can beat Wonder Woman because she's technically got magic on her side, but she doesn't use it specifically.
Okay, but I mean, that's like saying Aquaman is stronger than Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Green Lantern. That's essentially what they make Orm do in the comic.
Yeah.
And I don't get that. I don't think Aquaman could just punch out Superman and he lies there unconscious for 10 minutes. Well, Aquaman's strength isn't magic, just his weapons are.
Yeah. True.
And even with Wonder Woman, even if she gets hit by like a magic punch, it wouldn't knock her out for 10 minutes.
Well, she doesn't get knocked out for 10 minutes. She gets zapped the fuck out. And that does Orm punch Superman? Or I thought he hit him with the trident again.
He may have hit him with the trident. I know in the comics it's just a punch, but...
Okay, well, I'm pretty sure in the movie he hits him with the trident and straight up stabs him.
Okay.
And he does the same thing with Green Lantern. Green Lantern throws a construct... No, because that's right, because Superman tries to use the laser eyes on Orm, and Orm turns them back on him and hits him with the trident again, and he does the same thing to Green Lantern.
Right, okay. Okay, then I guess it works in the movie.
Yeah, and Wonder Woman gets close to him and is actually able to start grabbing the trident away from him, and then he recalls it to him and stuff.
Yeah, the whole thing with the trident only being able to work in royal hands.
Yeah, which is weird.
Which, again, is in the comics, but they don't bother to explain that mythology, so it just feels random and contrived. Yeah,
it feels like just a little add in there to create unnecessary drama, I agree. There's just so much that doesn't work about this fucking movie. Like, we were starting to talk about things that we liked, and then it immediately goes into more things that are awful.
I think Cyborg's opening scene where he has a dream and the suit just hauntingly wakes him up is a cool one-off. I think if you just post those 30 seconds as a mini-movie, it would be legitimately interesting.
Yeah, there's a good little character study. It's weird that they never go back to that, but whatever.
See, the biggest problem I have with this is I know you can make a good Aquaman movie. Aquaman is a fantastic character. You can do so much with him. Peter David proved Aquaman is essentially Wonder Woman and Superman rolled into one guy. Mm-hmm. Like, do everything what that Superman can do and have Wonder Woman's extremely well fleshed out history. and no one does it except Peter David.
I've got to read the Peter David run because that's the version that they used for Justice League, and I absolutely love that version. That's my favorite kind of Aquaman.
Yeah, you should definitely read that. Read Atlantis Chronicles first, because that's not... Aquaman's not in that story, but it's just the history of Atlantis according to Peter David. And it reads just like you're reading ancient Greek mythology. All the characters act like they're Greek gods, all of the drama, all of the conflict. It's so classic Greek mythology. Zeus does this and Poseidon does that kind of stuff.
Cool.
It's fantastic. Atlantis Chronicles, I think Peter David said, is his favorite thing he's ever written, and I think it's probably the best thing he's ever written. But yeah, I don't understand why people can't just do that with Aquaman, because it's fine if you want to make a dark, gritty version for the movies. That I can be okay with that, and Justice League did it well. But you gotta treat it with a little bit more dignity than he's just a bumbling drunk guy that wants to hit things. Because if you want to make Aquaman cool again, then you have to realize that he was cool to begin with.
Yeah, I don't know what else to really say. I'm not a big Aquaman fan. It's not like, you know, oh, he's Aquaman, he's stupid. I think Alec, who's been on the show multiple times, did probably make the greatest point I've ever heard anyone make against Aquaman, which is, why the fuck don't they just give him the ability to control water already?
He's got that ability.
No, not like the way Mira does it, though. You never see Aquaman do that.
Well, there was a point where after he got rid of his harpoon hand, he had like a water hand that he could do what Mira does.
Okay, why don't they use that, though?
Because he's got his normal hand back.
That's stupid. It was so cool with the harpoon hand.
Yeah, well, you know, retcons. Well, it's also not even your fault that you don't get into Aquaman, because there's just nothing out. You can only buy the you can only buy the Jeff Johns and Jeff Parker stuff, and you may be able to find Time and Tide somewhere on eBay, but there are no other Aquaman trades.
Gotcha.
So even if you wanted to get into Aquaman, unless you have like $200 lying around to just buy old back issues, it's hard.
Yeah, no, I don't care about Aquaman. He's just not a character that I've ever cared for, and I mean...
Yeah, that's totally fair. It's also just a matter of, like, no one gets exposure.
Yeah, that's it, too. He's just not a guy that I'm really into, so I can't really say anything about his potential. I'm sure, you know, there are no bad characters, just bad writers, is, I think, a dangerous thing to say and put myself behind, but I'm going to throw that out there anyway. Except for Super Hitler. I'm pretty sure Super Hitler is just a bad character.
Well, not if you write him like Charlie Chaplin.
See, maybe, I don't know, Steve, is that a dangerous argument to make, or do you think it's got some ground?
I think it's sound. It's like that idea of there's no bad movie that can't be remade into a good one.
Yeah. Or no remake that can't be better, that can't be worse than the original. No,
I don't think that's a dangerous argument to make, though. I think that's perfectly tame. One positive I have for the movie, and this is actually a legitimate positive, it spawned a toy line, and the Aquaman figure is great.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Yeah, that's nice. I have an Aquaman toy now. I'm happy about that.
Congratulations, Steve.
Yeah, thank you.
I've actually, funny story. I may even throw a picture of this into the video just because at this point we're stretching.
Yes, we are.
So Haley bought herself a Little Mermaid Lego set because they make those now.
They make Lego everything.
Yeah, except for Mario.
There's no Lego Mario?
There's Connects Mario.
Oh.
Anyway, she bought herself a little Lego Little Mermaid set, and you know, she's got it over on the bookshelf there. And I have the Lego Aquaman Batman Arctic set thing.
Right.
And so when I was deciding where to put all the figures and stuff, I was putting all the Lego figures on my little shelf, and then I got Aquaman. I'm like, shit, I don't have a place for you. And then I just subtly put him next to her. with like a really angry face, and it took like 3 months before Haley noticed. It was really funny.
That's hilarious because he just fits so well into that context.
He does. I want to see a Little Mermaid and Aquaman crossover. That's what I want. I'll buy that comic book.
I will too.
Actually, you know that now that Marvel owns Disney, why not get a Submariner and Little Mermaid crossover? It'll be amazing.
It'd be frightening too. Because the Submariner is kind of a dick.
You know what's something we should review on this show at one point in the future?
What's that?
Have you ever read the 90s Marvel DC crossovers?
Yes, those are fun.
Yeah, one's actually kind of interesting and good. The other's awful.
But hilariously awful.
Yeah, like we're talking about the one where like the superheroes have to fight for the universe in a tournament style, and it's like the most contrived thing ever. God, I love that thing.
And then they get fused together into weird combination heroes.
Yeah, Batman and Wolverine and...
Yeah, Dark Claw and Super Soldier and something else.
Yeah, weird shit. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, I think we're done now.
I think so too, yeah.
This is the end. And this is 2 really short videos, 2 weeks in a row, so that's unfortunate. But
yeah, this is why I wish Milan was here for this one, though, because I feel like he would have had at least some sort of rant. Even if he liked it, it would have made more conversation.
Yeah, I had a feeling he would enjoy this just because... I mean, alright, one more thing. We didn't talk much about the action. We did kind of dismiss that now that I think about it.
Well,
I actually enjoyed the fight scenes and stuff. I thought they were pretty cool. You did not?
Well, I mean, it's part of the problem for me is just that these movies are now designed to be nothing but action movies anyway.
Okay.
So, it feels obligatory.
Gotcha. Alright. Fair enough. I don't know. I enjoyed the fight scenes for what they were. I thought they were fun to watch, if nothing else. But yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, so 5 scale. What do you give this movie, Steve?
I don't want to give it a 0, but I'll give it a 0.07.
Oh my
0.07 out of 5 ridiculous bar fights that involve lobsters.
Damn it, I was going to do something with the lobster.
Which was just stupid. I don't understand why he's talking to the roach of the sea. He even says in the comics that he's allowed to eat certain fish because their brains aren't developed enough to have thoughts. Okay. I guess I'll give this movie, since I enjoyed it slightly more than Steve, I'm going to give this movie 0.75 videotaped overly detailed confessions about patricide. 3D video confessions.
Exactly.
Because Cyborg has got 360 cameras going at all times.
Which is a really uncomfortable thing, considering that he's about to go out on, like, a date with that girl at the end.
Yeah, so is he just able to replay that constantly?
Like, God, think about it. If she ever, like, breaks up with him, and he gets, like, really depressed about it or something, he'll just have that he can always go back to and just obsess over it. Oh, that's so creepy.
Now I kind of want a story where Cyborg is just a robotic, obsessive entity.
That's a creepy idea.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So it's my pick next week then.
Yes, it is. And it's a discussion, right?
Yes, it is. So I've got a couple in mind, and I'm not sure if these are entirely the same thing or not. But I've got 2 things in mind, so I'm going to like throw them out there and we'll decide which one to go with, or if they'll be combined as the same thing.
Okay.
So I either want to talk about sympathetic villains versus malicious villains. And that's clearly its own thing. But the other thing I kind of want to talk about is the lovable rogue.
I think you could roll those into one.
You think so?
Because the sympathetic villain was one step in the evolution of the lovable rogue.
Yeah, but when I say lovable rogue, I'm thinking more like
Han Solo type?
No, not quite that far. I'm thinking more like Captain Jack Sparrow.
Okay.
Who's clearly not a bad guy.
Peter Quill-esque, where there are likable people that just do not so moral things, but it's never like insane world domination stuff.
Yeah, so that's why I'm thinking that that seems like its own topic entirely.
Maybe. I feel like we would still reference it a lot when we're talking about sympathetic villains, because there's always a line of how far you're allowed to go.
Yeah, because I consider Catwoman kind of like the thing that makes those two so similar.
Yeah, because Catwoman's never one or the other.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I'm trying to wrestle with whether or not this is the same topic.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say we could do the lovable rogue thing, and I think out of that it would naturally evolve into good guy, bad guy, or sympathetic bad guy. And if not, we could always just do another discussion on that, or on that or something.
For right now, let's just leave it as sympathetic versus malicious villains. We're gonna just talk about that.
Okay.
And lovable rogue may come up as its own topic in the future, or it may get rolled in depending on where the conversation goes next week.
Yeah, because now in my brain I'm just thinking Punisher, where he's kind of the middle of that as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't exactly consider him lovable, but okay.
Well, he can be. Like, have you read the Garth Ennis stuff?
No.
Because he's kind of cartoony in those, and it kind of makes him lovable because it's just so cartoony.
Okay, no, I've read Punisher Max. That's my main exposure to Punisher.
Okay.
Anyway, everyone, thank you for listening. Until next time, I'm the philosopher.
I'm the politician.
And we are your geeky gentlemen, and we will be discussing